You know what's wild? Everyone talks about having $1 million saved for retirement like it's this massive, life-changing achievement. And sure, hitting 7 figures is impressive. But here's the thing nobody wants to admit. $1 million isn't what it used to be. In today's world, with inflation, healthcare costs, and people living into their 90s, $1 million might not even be enough. So what about $2 million? That's the number that's starting to feel like real financial security, the kind of money that lets you actually retire without worrying about running out. But here's what's going to blow your mind. Almost nobody gets there. And I'm not talking about, oh, most people fall a little short. I'm talking about a shockingly tiny percentage of American households that actually have $2 million saved specifically for retirement. Before we dive into the jaw-dropping numbers, go ahead and smash that subscribe button, because what I'm about to show you is information most people don't discover until it's way too late. And trust me, you'll want to share this with anyone planning to retire someday, which is pretty much everyone. Hi, I'm Matt. On this channel, I break down personal finance, retirement strategies, and wealth building so you can make smarter money decisions and actually enjoy your retirement years. If financial freedom matters to you, hit that notification bell right now. So let's start with the uncomfortable truth. According to the Employee Benefit Research Institute's analysis of Federal Reserve data, just 1.8% of American households have $2 million or more saved in retirement accounts. Let me repeat that because it's insane. 1.8%. That means out of every 100 households you know, maybe 1 or 2 have actually hit this mark. We're talking about money in 401ks, IRAs, and other tax-advantaged retirement accounts. This isn't your house, this isn't your car or some collectibles gathering dust in your garage. This is cold, hard cash earmarked specifically to fund your retirement, the money you'll actually live on when you stop working. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. That 1.8% figure is for households, not individuals. The average American household has about 2.6 people. So when we talk about individual Americans with $2 million in retirement savings, the percentage gets even smaller. We're talking about an elite group, the top of the top. And most people have absolutely no idea how rare this achievement actually is. Think about that for a second. Less than 2 households out of every 100. That's fewer people than have naturally red hair. It's rarer than being left-handed. And yet financial advisors throw around $2 million like it's some baseline everyone should expect to hit. The disconnect is massive. But wait, you might be thinking, what about net worth? Surely more people are worth $2 million when you count everything, right? And you'd be correct. About 7% of American households have a net worth exceeding $2 million when you include home equity, businesses, cars, brokerage accounts, and everything else. That's still not a huge number, but it's roughly 4 times higher than the percentage with $2 million in actual retirement savings. Here's why that matters. Having a $2 million net worth is an achievement. It represents years of discipline and smart decisions, but it's fundamentally different from having $2 million you can actually live on. If your house is worth $900,000, you still need somewhere to sleep at night. You can't pay your electric bill with equity unless you're willing to take out a reverse mortgage or sell the place and downsize. Your home doesn't generate income like a retirement account does. Let me paint a picture of what retirement savings actually look like in America right now. The median retirement account balance across all households is $87,000. Yeah, you read that correctly, $87,000. That's what half of all American households have saved for what could easily be 20 or 30 years of retirement. Do the math on that. If you retire at 65 and live to 85, that's $4,350 per year, less than $400 a month. You can't survive on that. You can't even pay rent in most cities on that. And we're not talking about the bottom 10% of earners here. This is the median. Half of all households have less than $87,000 saved. Now, let's look at people who are actually approaching retirement age. For households headed by someone between 65 and 74 years old, the people who are literally about to retire or already retired, the median retirement savings is $200,000. That's better than $87,000, sure, but it's still nowhere close to what you'd need for a comfortable retirement. Using the standard 4% withdrawal rule, $200,000 gives you $8,000 per year to live on. Add Social Security benefits, which average around $24,000 per year for an individual, and you're looking at roughly $32,000 in annual income. That's tight, really tight, especially when you factor in healthcare costs, which can easily run $12,000 per year or more for a retired couple. But wait until you see which generation is getting hit the hardest by this retirement crisis. Gen X, the people currently between their early 40s and late 50s, are in rough shape. A staggering 52% of Gen Xers have saved 3 times their annual income or less for retirement. And here's the kicker. More than half of them, 54% to be exact, openly admit they don't think they'll be financially prepared when retirement arrives. That's not me saying they're unprepared, that's them saying it. They know they're behind and they're watching the clock run out. Meanwhile, baby boomers aren't doing much better. About 59% say their retirement savings are behind where they should be. And in 2025 alone, a record-breaking 4.2 million Americans turned 65, the traditional retirement age. That's the largest wave ever hitting retirement, and most of them don't have nearly enough saved. Here's what really separates the 1.8% who have $2 million from everyone else. It's not luck. It's not inheritance, although that helps some people. It's the difference between having liquid, invested assets versus having your wealth locked up in things that don't generate income. A $1 million investment portfolio works for you 24/7. It compounds, it grows, it throws off dividends and capital gains. The S&P 500 has delivered insane returns recently. We saw 26.3% in 2023, 25% in 2024, and through the third quarter of 2025, the index is already up 14.9% for the year. If you had $1 million invested at the start of 2023, you'd have nearly $1.7 million by now without adding a single extra dollar. That's the power of having money in the market versus having it tied up in your house. Speaking of houses, let's talk about the trap that catches most Americans. They pour every extra dollar into their home thinking it's their retirement plan. They pay down the mortgage aggressively, maybe do some renovations, and watch the value climb over the years. And owning your home outright absolutely is a financial milestone. It feels good to know that roof over your head is yours. But your house doesn't behave like an investment portfolio. Real estate appreciates at roughly 4% per year on average across the United States. Some markets do better, some do worse, but 4% is the historical norm. Compare that to the stock market's long-term average of about 10% annually. Over 30 years, a $100,000 investment in real estate at 4% growth becomes about $324,000. That same $100,000 in the S&P 500 at 10% becomes $1.7 million. The difference is staggering. And remember, you can't access your home equity without borrowing against it, which comes with interest costs, or selling and moving somewhere cheaper, which comes with all kinds of lifestyle disruptions. Your investment portfolio, you can withdraw from it whenever you need to. It's liquid. It's working for you. What percentage are you investing versus sinking into your house? Be honest with yourself for a second.
All right, so we've established that almost nobody has $2 million saved, and we've covered why retirement accounts beat home equity. Now let's talk about something that might surprise you. The math to get to $2 million isn't nearly as intimidating as you think. Someone starting from zero needs to invest about $14,000 per year for 36 years to surpass $2 million, assuming a 7% inflation-adjusted return. That's $1,170 per month, or about 16 to 17% of median U.S. household income. Start at age 30, you hit $2 million around 65. Start at 25, you only need $835 per month. Wait until 40, now you need $2,500 monthly. Start at 50, nearly $5,000 per month. Time is everything. The earlier you start, the less painful it is. Now calculate your savings rate. Take your annual retirement contributions and divide by gross income. Less than 15%, you're falling behind. Experts recommend minimum 15% throughout your career. But average Americans save only 4.5% of disposable income. And that's total savings, not just retirement. This is exactly why only 1.8% ever reach $2 million. For 2025, you can contribute up to $23,500 to a 401k if you're under 50, or $31,000 if you're over 50. IRAs allow $7,000 plus a $1,000 catch-up over 50. Max out your 401k from age 30 with a 5% employer match, and you could easily hit $2 million by 65. It's achievable. Most people just don't do it. Here's where compound growth becomes magical, and this is the halfway point, so stick with me. Once you hit $500,000 in retirement savings, you're basically on cruise control to $2 million, even if you never add another dollar. The S&P 500 doubles roughly every 7 to 8 years at 10% annual return. So $500,000 becomes $1 million in 7 years, then $2 million in another 7 to 8. Save $500,000 by age 50, you could have $2 million by 65 just from compound growth. That's the secret the 1.8% understand. The first $500,000 is hardest. After that, your money makes more money than you contribute. But most people quit before the inflection point. They get discouraged watching slow growth in their 30s and 40s, don't see the exponential curve coming, and never experience the second million coming faster than the first. So if the math is this straightforward and the path is clear, why do 98.2% of households never reach $2 million? 3 massive reasons. First, most people don't contribute consistently. Life gets in the way.
You lose your job and pause contributions. Kids arrive and diapers aren't cheap. You buy a house and the mortgage eats up 30% of income. Medical bills pop up. Student loans hang around. Every time you pause retirement savings, you're not just missing that contribution, you're missing decades of compound growth. A $500 contribution you skip at age 30 could have been worth $5,000 by retirement. But even worse than pausing is what happens when income rises. Lifestyle inflation destroys retirement dreams. Someone gets a $10,000 raise and upgrades their car instead of increasing their 401k. They move to a nicer apartment, eat out more, book expensive vacations. Every dollar to lifestyle inflation could have compounded for decades. Are you making this mistake? When did you last get a raise and immediately increase your retirement percentage? Most never do. They let spending match income and savings rate stays flat or drops. The 1.8% who hit $2 million do the opposite. They keep living like they earn less and funnel every raise straight into investments. Second, time is brutal if you start late. Start saving $1,000 monthly at 25, you'll have $2.5 million by 65 at 7% return. Start at 35, that same $1,000 monthly only gets you $1.1 million. Wait until 45, you'd need $4,900 monthly. That's nearly $60,000 yearly. For most households, impossible. So they keep putting it off, saying, I'll start next year. Next year never comes, and suddenly they're 55 with $50,000 saved, staring down retirement with no realistic path. Time is the single most powerful factor, and most Americans waste their 20s and 30s saving nothing. They think they have time. They don't. And third, most people rely too heavily on the wrong things. They think Social Security will save them. It won't. They think their paid-off house is their plan. It's not. Real retirement security comes from assets that generate income or grow on their own. The 1.8% with $2 million aren't worried about Social Security because they don't need it to survive. The other 98.2%? They're counting on it, and it's not going to be enough. The Social Security Trust Fund is projected depleted in 2033, just 8 years away. When that happens, law requires a 23% benefit cut. That's potentially $16,500 per year gone for a retired couple. But let me show you just how bad this crisis really is.
Let's dig deeper into this Social Security crisis because it's going to define retirement for an entire generation. Back in 2000, there were 3.4 workers paying into Social Security for every beneficiary receiving benefits. That ratio has already dropped to about 2.7 workers per beneficiary today. By 2035, it's projected to fall to just 2.3 workers supporting each retiree. The math simply doesn't work. You can't support a growing population of retirees with a shrinking workforce unless you dramatically increase taxes, cut benefits, or somehow find a magical third option that nobody's figured out yet. And in 2025, we're seeing the largest wave of retirements in American history. 4.2 million people turned 65 this year alone. That's the baby boomer tsunami hitting all at once, flooding into a system that's already buckling under the weight. Some Republicans have suggested raising the retirement age to 70, which is effectively a benefit cut for everyone because you'd have to work 5 more years to get full benefits. Others propose lifting the income cap on payroll taxes. Right now, only earnings up to $176,100 are taxed for Social Security. Anything above that, not taxed, which means high earners pay a smaller percentage of their total income than middle-class workers do. There are solutions available, but they all involve paying for somebody, and in an election year, nobody wants to touch it. So the clock keeps ticking toward 2033, and millions of Americans have no idea what's coming. Are you one of them? And it gets worse. Medicare's Hospital Insurance Trust Fund, which pays for Part A benefits, is also projected to be depleted in 2033, same year as Social Security. When that happens, the law requires an 11% cut to hospital payments. Hospitals and doctors might start refusing Medicare patients if they're not getting paid enough to cover costs. Access to care could become a real problem for millions of retirees. So you've got Social Security getting cut by 23% and Medicare facing an 11% reduction, both hitting at the same time, right when Gen X and younger boomers need these programs most. The safety net everyone's been counting on is fraying fast. This is why that 1.8% number matters so much. The people who have $2 million in retirement accounts aren't relying on the government to save them. They've built their own safety net. They understand that Social Security and Medicare should be supplemental income, not the foundation of your retirement plan. But for the 98.2% who haven't saved enough, those programs are the difference between surviving and going broke. And when those benefits get cut in 8 years, millions of people are going to find themselves in serious trouble. The writing is on the wall. The question is whether you're going to do something about it while you still have time. So what does $2 million actually feel like in your bank account when you retire? Let's break down the real numbers, because this is where theory meets reality. Using the standard 4% withdrawal rate, which is designed to make your money last 30 years while adjusting for inflation, a $2 million portfolio generates about $80,000 per year. That's your base income from investments alone. Now add Social Security benefits. For a married couple receiving average benefits, that's roughly $48,000 per year combined. So you're looking at total annual retirement income of around $128,000. That's a comfortable lifestyle for most people. Not extravagant, but comfortable. You can cover your living expenses, pay for healthcare, travel a bit, and handle discretionary spending without constant stress about running out of money. But let's compare that to what the typical American household is facing. Remember, the median retirement savings for people aged 65 to 74 is $200,000. Using the 4% rule, that's $8,000 per year from investments. Add Social Security, and you're living on maybe $56,000 per year for a couple. That's extremely tight, especially when healthcare alone could cost you $12,000 to $15,000 annually. You're not traveling much on that budget. You're not helping out your grandkids with college. You're just trying to keep the lights on and food on the table. The difference between $56,000 and $128,000 per year is massive. One is survival mode. The other is actually enjoying retirement. And that gap exists because one household saved consistently for decades while the other didn't. Here's the crazy part about compound growth that most people don't fully grasp until it's too late. The bulk of that $2 million doesn't come from what you put in. It comes from the market doing the heavy lifting. The bulk of that $2 million doesn't come from what you put in. It comes from compound growth. The market does the heavy lifting over decades, your money making money. That's the eighth wonder of the world that Einstein supposedly talked about. Once you understand that the vast majority of your retirement wealth comes from growth rather than contributions, the goal suddenly feels way more achievable. But here's the catch, and it's a big one that traps people every single time. You have to stay invested through the scary parts. During the 2008 financial crisis, the market dropped nearly 40%. People panicked, sold everything, and locked in their losses. Then they sat on the sidelines in cash while the market recovered and went on to new highs. The S&P 500 has had plenty of negative years, 4 times in the 2000s alone. But over the long term, it always recovers and reaches new highs. The problem is that most people don't have the stomach to ride out those storms. They see their portfolio drop 20 or 30%, they freak out, and they make the worst possible decision at the worst possible time. That's how you end up broke in retirement. Have you checked your retirement balance lately? If seeing the number drop makes your stomach turn, you might not have the right asset allocation or the right mindset for long-term investing. So where does all this leave us? The harsh reality is that reaching $2 million in retirement savings puts you in an incredibly exclusive club. Just 1.8% of American households ever get there. The median household is sitting on $87,000, which won't last more than a few years in retirement. Social Security is 8 years away from a 23% benefit cut that's going to devastate millions of people who are counting on it. Healthcare costs keep rising. Inflation keeps eroding purchasing power even at a modest 3% annual rate. And most people have their wealth locked up in home equity instead of liquid retirement accounts that can actually generate income. The system is broken for most Americans, but it doesn't have to be broken for you. The path to $2 million is clear. Start early, save consistently, invest aggressively, and let compound growth do the work. Stay invested through the market downturns, max out your tax-advantaged accounts every year, and whatever you do, don't fall into the lifestyle inflation trap that catches everyone else. The difference between the 1.8% and everyone else isn't luck. It's not inheritance. It's discipline, consistency, and time. You still have time if you start now. The question is whether you're actually going to do it.